three-time world champ.
Back live from Stuttgart, the World Gymnastics Championships. I'm Bart Connor along with Raj Bavzar, ready now for rotation 3 of 6. Anton Fokin, we saw him vault in the previous segment. Now that group moves on to the parallel bars as all the athletes rotate around the floor here in what's called Olympic order.
Nice peach half.
Boy, his technique and then underbar work is nice.
Same technique as the Japanese, who are masters of the peaches.
He's a finalist at last year's World Championships on the parallel bars, took 8th place. We'll see him again on the parallel bars in the event finals here at Stuttgart.
So far, this routine has a nice flow and look to it.
The judges look for skills above the bars, below the bars, and then from an upper arm support. They have to be masters of all those types of swings.
That's right, all the different categories of skills. The gymnast must fulfill all 5 category requirements.
This one fulfills an underbar requirement.
And for every one they fulfill, Bart, the gymnast is awarded 5/10 towards their score. So if you hit all 5 and do them well, then you're given 2.5 towards your final score.
I like that aspect of gymnastics. There's no longer any compulsories, so it really forces the gymnasts, if they're going to be a great gymnast, they have to be balanced in all the areas of that apparatus, not necessarily milking only their best. Nice vault for Jonathan Horton.
That's a good vault, considering he's been struggling with the landing of that, even in the past few U.S. competitions. A little bit inconsistent, but yeah, definitely got it back here.
Put a hand down in the qualifying round here as well. He can do lots of vaults, but this one he chooses to do because it's a 6.6 degree of difficulty and a 16.075, a very good score.
A shade lower than some of the other gymnasts you've seen do that vault, mainly because you look at the execution in the air, his knees are a little bit more apart than the other gymnasts.
Anton Fokin had a clean routine for Uzbekistan. He qualified 15th into the final in a 15.9.
That's a pretty good score.
Very good score on parallel bars.
It's a great score. Well deserved, though. That was a nice routine.
Mizutori now getting set as the so-called leader group moves to the still rings.
He has a twin brother in Japan as well. I had an opportunity to train with the entire Japanese team this past January. I've got an incredible state-of-the-art facility out there.
The U.S. team has had a lot of cooperation with many other international programs. There have been training camps and cooperative programs with China and Japan and other countries.
And that's one thing I really like.
For nearly 20 years, the Japanese men reigned in the sport of gymnastics up until 1976, and then for a long time the team of the Soviet Union dominated. And so it was quite a thrill to see Japan back on top of the Olympic podium in 2004 from that spectacular finish in Athens. This is not the best event for Mizutori.
No, he's kind of just grinding it out.
Oh, I like that combination.
Don't see that too often.
Scored a 14.975 in the qualifying round, and I think he's happy with that performance, but it's clear that he's lacking some of the strength combinations to get a big score that you might see from someone like Yang Wei.
So he has to rely on these swing elements here, the Yamawakis, and near the end of his set he does a skill called a Gozogi, which is essentially those forward flipping skills, but done backwards.
Răzvan Solariu set to vault for Romania. We've seen several occasions at these World Championships where gymnasts have been forced to stand and wait before they go. They're waiting on the score from the previous performer.
And that can be a very nerve-wracking time for some gymnasts. You're no longer operating off your own clock. You're waiting for the judges to be ready.
Nice.
Very nice. Looked like he was trotting into that and exploded off the vault table. Result was a nice Kazumatsu full. That vault will start from a 16.6. One small step. That's only a 1/10 step on that deduction. And the gymnasts that can minimize their landing deductions in this competition will really find themselves ahead when the dust settles. Landing deductions can really rack up over 6 events. Got a 1/10 deduction for a small step like that, and a larger step is 3/10. After that, it's 5/10, and you fall down, it's 8.
I'm not sure I like that system now. 16.175 for Solariu. That's a great score. When I competed, the judges could take a 1/10 of a point or a 2/10 of a point deduction, 3/10 of a point. Here, the deduction categories are 1, 3, 5, and 8. So it's tough for a judge. How big was the step? Was it a 1/10 of a point step, or do I have to hit him 3/10 of a point? How do they make that choice?
And, you know, there's really no clear definition, but generally within the community, what we go by is judges are looking for a step no larger than the width of their shoulders. Like that there would be a 3/10.
Right. On what was a really awesome vault. I guess the idea when they changed the rules was to reward high difficulty skills, but also be very stringent on execution deductions, and that's the logic behind it.
That was pretty.
That was sweet. It's a Kaz double full, and in total, it's 3 twists in the air. It's big.
That's right, and that vault will start from a 17.0. One of the highest starts you'll see in this competition.
This is the vault that brought down American Justin Spring at the recent Visa Championships. He landed still twisting, blew out his ACL on his knee, and
that's unfortunate because he was a strong candidate for this team.
Well, and hopefully he'll have a chance of rebounding and having a shot at the 2008 Olympic team. Another one of the talented Americans.
Look at
not
that.
here. 16.475. There's the advantage of having a 7-0 start value.
That's right.
He can afford to take a 3/10 of a point step and still beat most of the field because of the difficulty rating. That is incredible.
Most of the field, not just on vault, but overall, because this is a higher scoring event.
This is the type of thing where you could pick up 2 points in the all-around over a guy who hit a very good pommel horse routine, for example.
Absolutely correct.
Okay, now here's a perfect example of what we're talking about. That was a very good-looking double twisting Yurchenko.
Right.
Worth 6.2. So 0.8 of a point less.
Less than the Kaz double full, which we just saw. So he's already starting with a 0.8 deficit on the previous gymnast. And generally, what happens, because gymnastics is a subjective sport, the judges will be a little bit more lenient with the harder vaults. On these more conservative vaults, they're expecting perfection almost.
Very interesting. This the logic behind the new scoring system was to really reward the guy who can successfully do the high-level skills. And I understand that logic. 14.35 for Mizutori. Perfect example of a decent routine on the rings, which gave up 2 points to the impressive vault.
That's right.
Oh, boy, we got to
here we go.
hold our breath for Tomita. We already noted that he's gassed. We saw it on the floor and horse. Rings will be tough today for a guy who's already worn out.
Doesn't look like it's too tough right now. These strength elements are looking very crisp. This is one of his better routines.
Usually, though, the lack of strength shows up later in this routine when you're having to cope with that.
It's funny how gymnastics works. Sometimes you can be extremely tired, but your muscles will still function. You'll still be able to hold these strength elements. Where you'll find where you suffer is actually the endurance in the routine. Just find yourself more gassed, out of gas towards the end.
Hey, nice job.
What a recovery, huh?
What a recovery on an event where normally your fatigue will show. You can see it in his face, but this time his arms did not give out.
Nope.
Wow.
Been a ring finalist in many competitions.
The score for Ryazanov of 15-9. Pretty high score.
That's a little bit
That's
generous.
too high.
Part, yeah.
It was a little low. He piped down from a 16-2 maximum, only 0.3 of a point off
total, versus a guy that does a 17.0 vault.
Too high.
Right. I think a little bit too high.
Don't like that score at all. Philippe Boy now. Oh!
Same vault, just way under-rotated. And that can happen if you don't get the proper block off the vaulting table.
Once again, the body style of a great vaulter typically is somebody who's a little shorter.
Right.
A little stockier, perhaps. The long, lanky guys don't do as well typically on the vault.
More body to get around.
Right, long levers.
Right.
And boy, that's going to be a major deduction.
So you see there's no mercy points in gymnastics here. He landed on the line, then stepped out, and also fell. And each one of those things will incur a deduction.
So it's just too hard, man.
You know, so you do you got the 8/10 fall, then 3/10 for the step, and then.
And on top of that, you sting your ankles so bad, you get some pain with it as well. So it's not just the painful score, it's the physical pain of, ouch, that hurt.
And that's not the way he wanted that to go, especially with a conservative vault like that. I'm sure he was going for the stick a little bit too hard. Sometimes we do that in gymnastics. We rely on the adrenaline. We know the adrenaline's going to carry us through the skill, and maybe sometimes feel like the skill is going better than it actually is.
That's a good point. And knowing that you're down in terms of difficulty value, the only thing you can do is compensate by having the best execution score possible. So you go for a stuck landing, and that's what you get. 16.05.
That's a great score.
Tomita coming back. Boy, it's a relief to see that. After 2 subpar performances on the floor and horse. Just about 1/10 of a point less than his qualifying score, but a good job for Tomita. That'll work his way back up into the standing.
That would be nice to see. And we're in for a treat here. This is one of Yang Wei's best events. He has one of the highest starts in the competition, and I'll explain why. That element there was a Maltese push to invert. He's going to gain 2/10 in bonus for connecting. Those are strength skills that are traveling upwards, or anti-gravity as I like to call it. Again, that's a Maltese push to planche. Pike Yamawaki. That's called the laid out Gazogi. Does it in a little bit different style than some other gymnasts.
Looks like you have to have ball bearings for shoulder joints to do it that way.
Oh,
that come
dismount
on.
There, look at that. Stuck it. That's called a layout double-double. I'm pretty familiar with that dismount.
Yeah, I know you do that big dismount. Well, he is just so prepared. The look on his face and the look of those routines, you just sense that he is completely prepared for the challenge of today, being a little bit tired. He is fit, isn't he?
He's very fit. I'm sure buried deep inside him is a motivation for that Olympic gold, and always been a contender for the all-around gold in several world championships and in the past Olympic games, but just couldn't put it together. There's always some little error that held him out of it, and I don't think he wants to leave any stone unturned.
3 times in the history of men's gymnastics have one athlete won the all-around title twice in world championships. Yuri Korolev did it in 1981 and 85. Dmitry Bilazerchev did it in 1983 and 87. And Ivan Ivankov of Belarus did it in 94 and 97. But no man has won back-to-back all-around titles at the world championships. And Yang Wei looking like that is a distinct possibility today.
Chance to make history.
Rafael Martinez to the vault.
Oh. Notice how he landed
way
completely out, both feet outside the line.
Major deduction for what was normally a good vault. 15.75.
So that vault started from a 16.6 and scores almost a point lower. The vault itself was relatively clean and good, but landing outside the line completely.
Yang Wei in charge here and going to another spectacular event, the vault for him. More gymnastics from the third rotation when we come back.
It's building up to a classy competition. If you like track and field, you can't complain.
Tactical awareness and raw power. A difficult combination.
Listen to the crowd of 40,000 go crazy for their countrymen.
Tedeschi really setting a blistering pace here. That's a very big lead group.
He's jumped his way into first position. If he wins this, he'll win the overall as well.
He's really sprinting. The delighted world champion of 2006.
And here they go. The finish line is in sight. Australia's number 17, Onioni Wood, the bronze medalist, but it's going to be a Dutch winner, it appears, of the World Championship.
All bets are off when Saturday Night at the Track takes the air on WCSN. See the world's best displaying the speed, skill, and focus necessary to win a world title. Whether it's on the pavement, at the track, or on the dirt, the finish line is all that matters. So forget win and place. The only show you need is Saturday Night at the Track.
Let's get ready to take flight.
Pure poetry.
Wow. What a performance there. Well, they've got it.
is the stadium record.
It's done! 1 lap to go. Number 1.
The new world record for the American. Oh, no!
Look at that.
Kim Dae-jung on the parallel bars now for Korea. I should note that the graphic, the name is listed differently on the graphic than we pronounce it. In the Asian names, typically you lead off with your last name and then your first name, as in the case of Li Ning or Li Xiaopeng. So we are honoring the Asian culture by saying last name first, as they do. Kim Dae-jung, the silver medalist at the Olympics in 2004.
And this is a good routine so far, Bart. These Asian countries really, especially on P-bars, really cram a lot of difficulty into these routines. Stick landings definitely help the all-around score.
Kim Dae-jung will turn 23 later this month. Qualified 17th to this all-around final.
Look at that score. That's nice.
Wow.
16.050.
Scored a 16.025 in the qualifying round, so a little bit better today. Yang Wei,
Wow.
16.4.
That's probably going to be the highest score of the competition on this event.
He scored a 16.35 in the qualifying round.
And like you were saying about body types here, Bart, compared to his teammates, who is short, quick, strong, and light, gymnasts like these usually tend to excel on events like pommel horse, high bar, where a lean look is very appealing.
It's just a matter of physics. Long levers are more difficult.
That's right. A little high on those positions there.
The key in gymnastics is your strength to weight ratio.
Right.
So that's why the best all-around gymnasts tend to be small, light, lean, and quick, as you said. And a guy who is not particularly tall, like Lian Fu Liang, who's probably about 5'6".
Right.
He looks long and lanky out there compared to a Yang Wei, who's a couple inches shorter and a lot beefier.
He knows it kind of just a get-through event for him. He's got his better events coming up.
Surprisingly good on the vault, and of course, the Chinese are the masters of the parallel bars. Those will be the next two events for this group of leaders. He's contributed a great deal to this team, not only in yesterday's team gold medal performance, but last year's gold medal performance as well. As an all-arounder in 2005, he was 7th place.
That element there is called a layout gazogi. And
Ow.
I don't know if you noticed, but your shoulders really take a beating on that. I'm sure training that numerous times a week, shoulders are really crying inside. It's a D dismount, layout, full out. Judges are looking for a little bit of amplitude and your finishing position. They don't want to see you twisting right into the ground. They want to see the gymnast finish the dismount and have time to flare out of it.
Amplitude is a term in gymnastics which describes bigness, I guess is the word.
Not just height, but just the wow factor as well.
Never heard that word used in any other industry except gymnastics. Amplitude sounds like volume. What is it? You know, how loud is it, or But
engineering measurement of some sort.
It is some sort of gymnastics term that is unique to our sport, but it is used to describe the bigness of a skill. And I know when I mention amplitude to a non-gymnastics person, they're like, "What? Does that mean it was loud?"
I know.
What does that mean? Every sport has its own particular language and nomenclature.
Right.
You ever been to a skateboarding or a snowboarding event when it's a McCheese to a
triple
stale fish?
Right. A McTwist and triple cherry bounce.
Judges once again challenged to come up with start values, and Jim Hartung, my Olympic teammate there on that judging panel. I don't envy these guys. There's a lot of calculation that needs to go into this.
There is.
And particularly if a strength move isn't quite in the correct position, not only do you not get full credit for the strength move, but then you would lose the possibility of getting a connection bonus if you had connected it to another skill.
Right, like suppose a Maltese is too high, like 30 degrees above the rings.
Right.
Shoulders are way up there, and the gymnast then attempts to push to an invert. Actually, what would happen is if the skill is unrecognizable, you would not get the connection bonus going into the invert, but you would get the invert itself.
So there are two judges on the A panel whose mandate is to calculate that concrete number of the start value, and then other judges, 6 other judges, determine the execution score for the routine and that combination and results in the final score. So a long delay here as they calculate the score. But it's all important that they get a fair shot at the best score they can, because today gold, silver, and bronze will be handed out in the all-around finals. Don't go away. More gymnastics coming up.
WCSN brings you another defining moment from the championship corner.
Renata Gutschel, one of the most decorated Super G skiers of all time, doing her thing, and she just knifed those turns there. No problems with the line. Skiing in pain? Well, it's going to feel real good when she crosses the line. Renata Gutschel by a full second. No question about who is the #1 Super G skier this season.
Beam, noun, long piece of timber or array of light. Verb, to send a broadcast signal, to smile. Beam, also known as a prop to balance on.
Oh, that was a big moment for the Yukin. The first one to go on the beam in that rotation.
This one, a real cat and mouse affair as always. Sanchez has left it too late, oh my word. And Mears blows her away going through the belt, and Sanchez has completely misjudged it. Poor concentration from the French, relaxed too much, lets Mears come storming past her, and that was the race over. Almost before the bell, Mears had it sewn up. And Mears takes gold.
The course is set. Destination, the Four Corners, where background, stats, and stories are mapped out each week. Race and track. Over and in the water. On the snow for winter sports. And on and off the floor. Meet the athletes, get the stories, and see the action as WCSN takes you inside the sport, inside the corner. The Four Corners, where only the best.
Welcome back to the World Gymnastics Championships. Jim Hartung, one of the A panel judges on the still rings, still working to calculate the appropriate score for Liang Fu Liang. All of the judges in the World Championship and Olympic competition selected from among the best judges of each country. One of the reasons the new scoring system was put in place was to hopefully reduce the nationalism and make the quantification of the scores more reliable. The whole point of the scoring system is to make sure that the best guy gets the best score, regardless of what number it is. But getting there sometimes is a little ugly.
It is. Still can be. There's really no way to eliminate all aspects of subjectivity in this sport.
One of the things that I've always felt was strange about the gymnastics scene is that when you go to a competition, you bring athletes, coaches, and judges.
Right.
And the athletes, coaches, and judges all feel part of the delegation.
Absolutely.
And so the judges feel like their job is to make sure that they support their athletes and coaches the best they can, and all they can do is give them the best possible score in that scenario. Well, generally it works out. And I have to admit, in 35 years of gymnastics, in most cases the right people win.
Right.
But getting there sometimes is not necessarily a pretty sight. Your feeling about that?
Well, you know, it's interesting to note that these judges, there's really only so much that one of those panels can do. The A panel is responsible for calculating all the difficulty, and the B panel is just responsible for the deductions. So working cohesively, they want to make sure that they've got the proper score. Number one, the A panel, most important, that they got all the skills right in the routine. If there's any deviation from that, that can cause some turbulence. And generally when we see judging delays, that's usually what's going on. So whether or not a certain skill is going to get credit.
Now, you are able to contest a score.
Right.
But the FIG changed the rules recently and said, okay, if you want to protest your score, you got to throw out some money. $300 US to ask the judges to look that over again. And if you lose and you protest again, and it's $500 the next time. And
I'm kind of wondering where that money goes.
I don't know. Maybe to the post-event party for the judges. I'm not really sure. Towards a bar bill at some hotel, likely. But the only score that you can contest is the A jury score. You can't contest the deductions from the B jury or the execution, but you can say, I think you might have gotten my start value wrong, and that's when you can propose to protest the score, or they don't use the word protest, they call it inquire. Which I think is politically correct. But for the coach, it's definitely a protest.
Protest. Little hesitation, little bobbles in this routine. The rhythm of the routine, it doesn't flow quite as nicely as some of the other routines. It does have good execution, however.
Claudia Capelli of Switzerland, 14.925. Not a bad effort there.
Not bad at all. Might have had too many hold elements.
15.525 for Deviatowski.
Germany's favorite.
All eyes on Fabian Hambuchen. That's a weak start to this routine.
That is. That's just a very basic strength position.
In a straddled position, and anytime you straddle a move like that, flange.
And he probably will not receive credit for that shoot to invert. That was a backup rise invert. And got to the position and quickly fell out of it.
This may be one of those routines that's going to take a while to calculate because the judge is now forced to